Uh, Good morning, my Teaserking family. How is everybody today? I am fine. Just watching some YouTube. Just a second. All right. So as we see gold, it took a nice jump. It was really hanging in the 33s, 30s. Didn't really do much. Got to 40, went down to 20, but notice at 10 o'clock, it dropped. And so therefore it's going to go. So it dropped so they can get a cheaper price, which they did, and they bought it. And now it's up to 33.69. So that's a good sign. We're finally getting there. Silver's got up to 38. It's slowly 37. They're fighting it. You can see 37.93. We can do the silver chart. A little more interested in that now. Oh, at 10 o'clock, it did the same thing. It was down to 37.50, and it's just amazing how it's the same chart. So it actually got to 38, and now it's 37.92, but that should be stopping soon. So, you wonder what the hell happens with this, that it does the same move at the same time for both of them. Let's look at the stock market. Back down to 43,000, down 100. Again, this should be much, much lower, especially with all these tariffs. How can it go up? How can any company be worth more going up with these tariffs? I mean, it doesn't make any sense, right? All right. All-Star game. I watched about 30 seconds of it, and it was five. I saw the 3-run homer. This Bubik sucks. National League won 7-6. Let's look at the box score. This Bubik is terrible. I mean, he's got low ERA. I don't know why. He threw the ball right down the middle. And then the American League scored 4 in the 7th and 2. So it ended up being 7-6. Only I don't understand it. I only see 6 runs. I got 2 here, and 4 is 6. 6-6. Where's the 7? Where's the other run? Pretty wild. So did it end 6-6? I saw Pete Alonso's home run, made it 5-0. I never heard of Corbin Carroll. I never heard of Ketel Marte. Brent Rooker, never heard of him. Bobby Witt Jr., he's probably the only guy I've heard of. Bobby Witt Jr., and then Steven. So what did they end in a tie? National League wins the game 7-6. Did they win it in the 10th? I mean, I don't get it. It's 6-6. Let's see. Yeah, see, when the Tigers face good hitting, they choke off. So you had 4 Tigers, Torres, the second baseman, 0 for 2. Ricky Green batted second, 0 for 3. How do you bat him second and then Judge and this Riley guy, the home run guy? And then you pinch hit with McKinstry. He goes 0 for 1. And then Baez 0 for 2. So when they don't get the pitches called for them and they don't steal the signs, that's it. Let's see, National League. I mean, I don't know half of these guys. Freddie Freeman, I know. Manny Machado. Will Smith, isn't he the guy from Focus? Lindor, De La Cruz. I can't believe De La Cruz wasn't the starting shortstop. And so, see, this is the problem with the All-Star game. Skubal, he's maybe not that good. He started and gave up 3 hits and 2 runs in the first inning. And I think it was 2 strikeouts. No, it wasn't a home run. So why only pitching 1 inning? And then Roden pitches an inning. And then Ric Flair pitches. Ric Flair made the All-Star game. Ryan from Minnesota, Rasmussen, I've never heard of. Bubik, yeah, he sucks. Casey Mize, he gave up a run. He gave up a home run. See, when the Tigers get into this, you see the real Tigers. They're not very good. So we gave up 2, 5. How did it go 7-6? I don't see the 7th run. Skane started, no runs, no hits. Why is he only pitching an inning? Kershaw pitched 2/10 of an inning. Why? Adams pitched 1/10 of an inning. What is this shit? They're all pitching 1 inning, so they can all say, we had a chance, we pitched, da-da-da-da-da. What a bunch of bullshit. So again, how did they win 7-6? Can anybody tell me that? Because I'm seeing 6-6. National League, I got 6 runs. It's 6-6. Where does the 7 come from? This could be the dumbest thing I've ever seen. So they win 7-6 without scoring the 7th run? No, there's a historic home run swing off. What the hell's a swing off? So I guess it's like, so it's tied at the end of 9, 6-6. So they have a swing off. Seriously? So this is like soccer or hockey. When the game ends and it's tied, they then go to a shoot off. Oh my God. Just I can't take it. So Friday we get back. Today's what, Wednesday? Yeah. All right, let's go to the NFL. So we can review the lines. Dallas 7, 46.5. So let's break the games down. You got Philly, and you're betting the defense. Dallas with the new coach, Dak Prescott. We know he sucks. And, can we bet that he'll throw 2 interceptions in this game? Because he will. Dallas really has no chance. Okay, Micah Parsons, but we got Barkley on Philly. Now, I disagree that Jalen Hurts is a elite quarterback. Excuse me, he's not elite. I couldn't believe he won the MVP in the Super Bowl. Are you kidding me? It wasn't the defense for the Eagles that won the MVP. They were the best players on the field. Not Hurts didn't do anything. So again, better team. Now I think they lost. Did they lose a coordinator? I don't know. But with Barkley and everything, they should be, that you can always count on. Hi, Elvis. I'm fine. How are you? Where are you in India or Pakistan? I think. How's everything there? Kansas City goes to Brazil. Why Brazil? I have no idea. Lane 2.5, 45.5. Again, you've got Mahomes, who's the X factor. Kelsey, I don't know. He's getting old. He's getting slow, and he's not getting open. Um, they did draft a receiver, I think, and Rice is back, and a little running with Pacheco. So they're okay. Mahomes makes up for all the problems. Their line's not good. We'll see if San Diego puts pressure on Mahomes a lot. We've got good Kansas City defense with Spagnolia. And San Diego, I don't like Harbaugh. I'm not a big Harbaugh fan. He's choked in so many games. The only reason he won the championship is their schedule was versus nobody. And basically that was it. So he had trouble beating Ohio State for 8, 9 years. Couldn't beat them. So I don't know. I don't see San Diego. I think Denver will be better than San Diego. Herbert's good, I think. What the fuck? A lot of spam phone calls, funeral expenses. I got gold. I don't need life insurance or funeral. I got gold. That is life insurance and funeral. Um, all right. Tampa Bay, Atlanta. Now we get to Sunday. Tampa Bay is 1.5, 49.5 over Atlanta in Atlanta. Probably a good over game. Probably I like Atlanta as the dog because with Penix, it's totally different than with Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins is terrible. Penix is a star, and they're not going to go into Atlanta and blow them out. You got to look where their game is, but Tampa's not a big blowout anyway. Sir, good. Invest gold or silver only 2 months. What does that mean? What do you mean only 2 months? Is it good to invest in gold and silver? Yeah, I've been telling you that. Only, yeah. What else are you gonna play with? And what's the problem with that? I mean, I wouldn't go into any paper stuff. I was telling my friend yesterday about his safety deposit box, and I said to him, he's got his gold in a safety deposit box at a bank. I says, get it out of there. Because the problem is when the banks close, that you're not going to be able to get into your safety deposit box. So you've got to get it out of the box. Either keep it at home in a safe or get one of these rental locker type of things at, like U-Haul or self-storage or something. And you be the only one with the key. And because you see on this TV show where they got to break the lock with the players or something. Maybe they went out of business. I don't know, but normally you just need the key for it. So you're better off putting it in something other than a bank. Because what'll happen is the bank will if they go out of business, they'll just close their doors. And you'll say, yeah, I got my safety deposit box in there. Well, we're closed. And they won't give it to you. And they'll probably keep it. I don't know what the banks do with it, if they open them and keep them or what, but you won't be able to go in and get it. So I'm not sure your question, was invest gold and silver only. What's the 2 months? I don't know what that is. So ask clear questions so I can answer them. Cincinnati at Cleveland. Cincinnati started slow last year. I don't expect them to start slow. Everybody's signed. I expect their defense play a little better. They got a good running back in Tajay Brooks from Texas Tech. Should help Burrow and the offense be even more dangerous. So we'll see how quickly he gets in. That's the problem with the coach. They won't start him because he's a rookie, but their regular running backs stink. So look for Cincy to come on. Cleveland, I don't know what they're doing. Four quarterbacks. Prime Junior should never be there. There's a reason he fell to 7, and he's not Tom Brady, right? So you've drafted Dylan Gabriel. What do you? Either you made a mistake there, or you didn't. And if you didn't make a mistake, what do you got? This other guy taking his time up, or you got wait, we made a mistake. We'll take Prime Junior. Well, you could have taken Prime Junior in the 3rd round. You took Gabriel. So big mistake with Cleveland. Big profits, gold or silver. You're not. Well, you're doing both. I mean, you got to understand gold and silver are going way up, and anything in the dollars going way down. So you got to understand that dollar is worthless. So you got to get out of the dollar, and then it becomes a process of elimination. What do I go into? So you get out of dollar, you go into gold and silver. That's those are the only thing that can't be inflated, that can't lose value. There's no risk in the portfolio, as I say, if you're in gold and silver. Physical, you got to buy the coins or the bars. Probably the coins are better. That's what you have to buy, and that's your only option. The stocks, you got all these tariffs by Trump. BRICS is going to a gold-backed currency, which I think they already have, called the unit. So if they need gold, so the demand for gold makes the price go up. So you just got to understand that. And the demand for silver, as you get out of the dollar, you either go to gold or silver. 2 items that can't be inflated and are real money. You can go to a Rolex or one of these nice watches. You can go to the baseball cards and get a Mantle or a Tom Brady, or find a Babe Ruth or something. But that's really what you're looking at. If you find a Babe Ruth, it's the 1930s. There's a 61 flare that I have, but it's Ruth, but it's just like a part of the set. It's not really, it's not like a 1930 card. So you have to get out of dollars, because the Keynesians keep thinking, well, we can just print as much as we want. And for some reason, they keep saying that. Well, so you can print as much as you want. You can't. You can print it physically, but the value of the dollars printed are worthless. That's why the dollar's not worth anything now, because you've killed the value of it, because they're worthless, right? So you can keep printing, but like Germany did with the Reichsmark in 1923, they kept printing and they were worthless, and people had the wheelbarrow, and then they wallpapered their home with the Reichsmark, because you could print them, but they didn't have a value. Once nobody wants it, there's no value. As I'll show you with my Canadian club, once, if I try to sell it and there's no buyers, then it's not worth anything. Things are only worth something if there's a buyer for it. So you want to sell glasses, you want to sell a gold chain, a blue T-shirt. It only works if there's a buyer for it. And if there's no buyers for it, then you can't sell it, right? And if you can't sell it, then you either get out of business or you make something else. Anyway, so back to football. We got Miami 1.5, 46.5 over Indy. Who knows with Richardson? He's always hurt. He checks out of games. The guy's just a total idiot. Tua, I don't know. They're not good on the road. They're kind of a weak team. The coach is terrible. Hard to bet Miami here, but we'll see who Indy's quarterback is. Oakland goes to New England. New England 342.5. I think Oakland's a very live dog. I think Drake May is way overvalued. I mean, I don't know what he's shown you. He can run, but so can Lamar. He doesn't win any big games. So I don't know. Drake May's going to do crap. Um, Oakland, I do. You got Brock Bowers, and you now got Gentry, the running back. You've got Geno Smith. You got Coach Pete, Crosby on defense. So it's a solid team. It's a level down from Kansas City and Denver, Buffalo, and Baltimore. So we'll see, but that's what it is. And somebody said about Bo Nix that, oh, Denver just throws screen passes. It doesn't matter in this league because everything is a two deep zone. So it's all checkdowns, right? That's what most of these people do is the crossing routes against the zone and these little short passes. So I don't know what he's talking about. Nobody throws deep. Mahomes used to. He doesn't. Josh Allen a little bit. The Lions a little bit. But it's not. We'll see. The Lions do a lot of play action and funny reverses, and because they can't just stay there and play. They have to do all this trick stuff. They're not as good as they think they are. Arizona 6 over New Orleans. We'll see how good Arizona is. They always have a defensive problem. No running. James Conner I like, and then New Orleans I don't know what they got. They got Olave and Kamara, but who's their quarterback? We can only bet on Jake Hayden. We can't bet on Radler. We can't bet on this other guy. Pitt goes to the Jets, 39.5. You got Aaron Rodgers. You got the running back from Iowa, Johnson. You've got a good receiver and DK Metcalf. The defense needs some work. Surprisingly, they do have TJ Watt. So we'll see what it is, but a normal Pitt should kill the Jets. The Jets. Fields? How do you end up with Fields? How do you say, yeah, I'm going to take Fields? Really? I don't know about that. The Washington 7 on 46.5 over the Giants. Gotta like Daniels at home, but I think the Giants, if they play Scatterboo, which I don't know if they're going to play him or the other running back, you've got Russell Wilson and you got Neighbors. So they do have an offense now. I'm not sure about their line. And then they have a decent defense, I guess. Not a great deal. What's their defense look like? Their defense last year was a 24 defense. Not great. I think they added a defensive guy from Penn State. Everybody thinks they're Micah Parsons. I think Washington gets the win. I think it's over. Just with Daniels, I don't think he'll lose, but I don't think they're that strong. Very hard to speak English. Oh, you're doing fine. What's your question? Go to a translator. There's translators on the internet and type in whatever language and push it out in English. You're doing fine. I get it. So, yeah, you want to buy gold and silver. Yes. And just stay away from banks and the dollar and be careful with stocks. I don't know what you have in Pakistan. So just be careful with that. But you're fine but you got to have the coins. Buy the physical coins, gold and silver. Find a safe or some place that's safe, and you'll be fine. You'll be the lone survivor of Pakistan. Jacksonville 2.5, 46.5 over Carolina. I don't know how anybody's favorite in this game. Trevor Lawrence is terrible. The new guy from Colorado, I don't know. Is he a receiver or is he a cornerback? He's okay. He wasn't the best player in college football, that's for sure. So I don't know. It's a game you can only go over under. You can't take Jacksonville with Trevor Lawrence, and you can't take Carolina with Bryce Young. You can't bet the quarterbacks. So you got problems there. Tennessee, Denver. Denver 7.5, 41.5. All right, Cam Ward. He's not that good. Way overvalued. Was not the number one player in the draft. That's a joke. Denver, I like Bo Nix, Sean Payton. They played well last year. I look for them to have a step up because now they played together a year, and Bo Nix is really good. Um, so I like Denver at home there. Cam Ward, uh, I don't know. This isn't the ACC. Frisco, Seattle, Frisco 1.5, 45.5. Uh, you got to love Frisco in this game. McCafferty's back and supposedly healthy. What Ayuk is back. Well, I don't know if he's back yet. He was injured, but they have other receivers and they have a good defense. So um, I think the Niners are going after their title and they're pissed off. Seattle, on the other hand, you going with Darnold like you think he's good, and then you've got the coach I don't like at all. You lost Metcalf, so you have no receivers, and your defense is average. What was Seattle's defense last year? Was it 22, which isn't bad, but pretty average in the NFL. You got to be under 20 to really be a good defense. So I think the Niners have no problem there. Houston at the Rams. The Rams 2.5, 45.5. It's a good game. Houston with a good defense. CJ Stroud's not very good. I don't know why people think he is. Good work. Thank you. You're welcome. Awayas. The Rams. So it's a good game. The Rams with Stafford, with Devontae Adams, Puka Williams at running back. Pretty good line. Pretty good defense. They're the better overall team in this game. CJ Stroud really can't. At Ohio State, they don't teach you how to read a defense. And that's why all the Ohio State quarterbacks suck when they get into the NFL. They don't know what they're doing. So, Stroud's a little weak. Their defense looks pretty good. So I think this should be a close game, maybe low scoring. We'll see. Baltimore and Buffalo. Buffalo 1.5, 52.5. I'm watching last year's game now. So there's a new thing by the NFL where they just show the game. Play. So in about an hour, you watch the entire game, every play. So I'm watching that. And Lamar just chokes. He threw a bad interception. Then he had a bad fumble. He really can't keep calm. His problem, he's too emotional. And you've got to be like Brady. You've got to be cool and calm. Bart Starr was like that. Joe Montana, Mr. Cool, right? The real good ones stay cool. Hey, there's John Candy. Lamar wouldn't see John Candy if he was right in front of him. Lamar's too emotional. Josh Allen. Mahomes is cool. Joe Burrow is extremely cool. And that's what you're looking at. So we've got it's a tough call. I think Baltimore will keep it close. I think it'll be a close game, but I think you got to go over on it. Detroit, Green Bay. I don't know why this is first. Green Bay 1.5, 49.5. Detroit lost its center. They've lost their coordinators. We now see how to get rid of Goff. Just pressure him and he folds. A lot like Stafford. Stafford, you put pressure on him, he folded. He's not mobile. He just stands around. It's at Green Bay. I don't love Jordan Love. He's average. He's got some good, it's not about, gee, look at him complete a 15-yard pass. That's what everybody thinks. Oh, look at Lamar. He threw a 20-yard pass. He's a good quarterback. No, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the guy under pressure, stays calm, reads the defense, sees a blitz coming, gets out of it, looks at the weak spot in the defense like Brady would or Montana would. They knew where they were throwing the ball right away. And these guys would be open, and you had a lot of big plays, and they avoided the sack. They avoided the blitz. Lamar can't do that. I don't think Josh Allen can do that. I would blitz Josh Allen all the time. You can't let these guys just stand in the pocket and then kind of roll around and use their speed to get you. And as I say, it doesn't work. They don't win anything. They win regular season games because they're playing bad teams, but they're really not. When you get into the big game against the Eagles, it isn't. They'll just blitz you and you're done because you can't read it. So when I look at Jordan Love, that's what I get. When I look at golf, they run all these little trick motions and reverses and stuff like that. The Lions do. They want to run the ball mostly. They're basically a run team, and then they do play action pass. Very rarely does golf go back in the pocket and read and throw. Very, very rarely, because you can't do it because they pressure him and he folds up. Right? That's golf's problem. He can't. He doesn't read the defense very well because he gets caught in these situations and he throws these interceptions is because he doesn't understand the defense, what they're trying to do. He holds the ball too long. Um, that's just the way he is. That's the way he's always been. That's why he doesn't win big games because then the pressure gets onto him and he can't handle the pressure. Plain and simple. And that's the difference between even Stafford or Burrow or Mahomes is pressures. They're fine under the pressure. You watch Burrow, he's about to get sacked. He moves over 2 inches, fires the ball to Chase. It's a touchdown. Mahomes does that all the time. Brady did that all the time. That's the thing. You stay calm when the pressure's coming. You know where the pressure's coming from. You know I got 3 seconds to get rid of it. Brady against Seattle did that all game in that Super Bowl. He had 2 seconds to throw the ball and he just dumped it to Wes Welker. But he knew that was the play. He knew where to go with the ball. These guys now have no idea. They want to run. Oh, let me run. Drake May. I want to run. All right. So, it's tough. I think the Lions with these new coordinators have no idea. It's not easy. You can't, and none of them have experience. So it's not like easy that you can we'll just plug in a new coordinator. It doesn't work that way. I'm surprised they didn't get experienced coordinators. That's going to hurt them. And the center going is retired is going to hurt them. You got the running backs, you've got the receivers, and the line's pretty good. So it should be like an idiot can call the plays, right? Basically, we try to run it and then play action off of the run, and that's where they get their points. So Detroit should score. I think it probably goes over. Detroit's probably a live dog in the game. Hudson said I wouldn't count on playing until October, but we'll see. If he does play, he's going to be in big trouble because his broken legs are not healed in less than a year. Okay, and then Minnesota at the Bears. The Bears 1.5, 44.5, which makes you wonder how good is J.J. McCarthy if he's a dog to the Bears. And Caleb's terrible. As I said about Caleb, he had Cliff Kingsbury and Lincoln Riley his last year at USC. Cliff Kingsbury was the offensive coordinator, and he struggled and he sucked. He got sacked, a lot of picks. He did not play well in that. And look at Jalen Daniels, gets Cliff Kingsbury, and here he goes, superstar. So I'm not quite sure. Ben Johnson is not going to be better than Lincoln Riley or Cliff Kingsbury. So I don't know what he expects, but he doesn't have the running backs or the offensive line to do what he did in Detroit. He's trying to copy it. He brought in a bunch of free agent linemen, but you've got to play together. You can't just be there. One guy from Kansas City. Well, but look at the problems Kansas City had against Philly. So Minnesota, excellent defense. So do the Bears. You got two lousy quarterbacks. J.J. McCarthy didn't show anything at Michigan. I don't know why Minnesota's making a big mistake here. And they should have kept Darnold. At least Darnold understood the system. He was good until the end when they blitzed him and he choked under pressure, but McCarthy can't handle the pressure either. He didn't win the championship. They had 4 40-yard runs win the championship. He just handed the ball off. So you got really weak quarterbacks. And, the Bears might try these little fancy reverses and have the coach throw the ball and have the tight end go out and catch the linemen go out and catch passes. But Minnesota, great defense, and they do have Jefferson. I think the game's close. I think the game's low scoring. So let's see if there's any news on the NFL. So talking about Denver, yeah. Jets makes Sauce Gardner highest paid cornerback in NFL history. Why? The Jets are probably not going to win a game this year. So why would you make him the highest? I don't understand these owners pay these guys so much. I don't know. Really no news. So this I don't like. All of a sudden I get an ad to go to Las Vegas because I looked yesterday to see if I wanted to go. And all of a sudden I'm getting an ad on it. See, this is what I don't like. They're invading my privacy. That's none of their business what I was doing, and now you're coming up with that shit. Anyway, not much there. All right. Any other questions on football? Let me know. So what you do is I put a thing in my title about statistics. I think they're being way overused. I think I listen to baseball, for example, and they come out with WAR and OPS, but is any of it meaningful? It's a statistic that they're pulling to their ass. I don't even know what I looked at WAR to see the definition. I can't get one. They don't have one. What does wins above replacement mean? Is it meaningful? I have no idea. Meaningful stats and non-meaningful stats are the whole point of it. I think OPS is put in because the batting averages stink. If you look at the batting averages, let's look at the batting averages. How many 300 hitters are there? You think there's more or less than 10? Well, let's take a look. Batting average. Major League Baseball. So let's see. How many 300 hitters are there? Aaron Judge, 355. Jacob Wilson on Oakland, 332. Jonathan Arana, 324. Will Smith, he can act too, 323. Jeremy Pena, 322 on Houston. Jake Myers, 308 on Houston. And Alejandro Kirk, 303 with Toronto. That's it. You have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 hitters in baseball with a batting average of over 300. How pathetic. So they hide it with OPS. Well, look at Aaron Judge got a 1194 OPS. Is that good? Who knows? It means that he gets walked a lot because he can hit, and most of his hits are home runs or extra base hits. Big whippy. It doesn't. He's got 125 hits, and he's got 24 doubles and 35 home runs, 81 RBIs, 69 walks. Okay, but that's what I want. His average is 352. He's got 35 home runs and 81 RBIs. That's more meaningful than an OPS of 1194 because we don't even know what an OPS is. It's how many times it's on base percentage. So he walks a lot plus slugging percentage, which is basically how many of his hits are extra base hits. Are these meaningful? Is that more meaningful than his 352 batting average? Now I can show you the guy in the Tigers, Spencer Torkelson. He's hitting 300 or he's hitting 220, and and that's his batting average, but his OPS is like 8 something because he walks a lot and doesn't hit a lot, but his hits are home runs. So he gets a lot of home runs for his hits. He doesn't hit singles. He doesn't hit in the clutch. Doesn't have a lot of RBIs. So this is the thing. So you just go down the list. Jose Altuve's hitting 277 with an 801 OPS. It looks like he's got 17 homers and what is that RBIs? And 50 RBIs. So it comes to what they're doing. Here's Zach McKinstry of the Tigers. This is the worst hitter I've ever seen. He's hitting 285 with an 836 OPS, and he's got a whopping 8 home runs and 31 RBIs. I don't know how he's only been up 82 times. So he's not batted a lot. So with his 285, so his numbers are really skewed. What's he got? 82 hits or 49 hits? I don't know. I can't see the title. Hits, doubles, triples, homers. So he's got 82 hits, 14 doubles, 8 home runs, and only 31 runs batted in. But he's got an 836 OPS and a 285 batting average. So what's more meaningful? Well, the 285, but when you look at it, he's only got 8 home runs, but he only drove in 34 runs. So he doesn't drive in runs. So he's just more of a singles hitter. So what did I say? You had 9 300 hitters. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. You have 7 300 hitters. So let's talk stats. Does OPS tell you the pitcher, or does batting average tell you the pitcher? I think batting average. If a guy's hitting 230, I don't care what his OPS is. He doesn't hit. I want a guy who's hitting 230. Now, if he hits 230, I want him to have 100 RBIs. Otherwise, I got Dave Kingman, and I can just walk him. The Tigers have a lot of guys like that. They might have a little bit of home runs, no RBIs. They're all solo homers. Not big batting averages. They're all like 270, 280. Decent OPS, but see, so that's the question: is what stats are meaningful and what are just bullshit? WAR, wins above replacement. What the hell does that mean? So you win, I guess, better than the backup. Oh, of course. What kind of stupid measurement is that? Of course, the starter is going to be better than the backup. What are you talking about? But does that mean righty lefty? So if I'm a lefty and the righty's pitching, I'm hitting, but if there's a lefty, I'm not playing. My backup is. But how good is he? What do you get out of it? Oh, he's got a 2 WAR. Is that good? He's got a 1 WAR. Is that good? What does it mean? This is the problem with statistics. Going for 4th down, the percentage is X. What does that mean? What is that? No. It's against what? Does it tell you what team? If you go for 4th down against Baltimore, you're probably like 2%. Or Philadelphia or Kansas City or probably Denver, San Diego. You're probably not going to make too many of them. Minnesota, even the Bears, strong defense. probably much higher against Green Bay, probably really low against Houston. So if you just blindly look at the stat, going, oh, it's it's 75%. You got to be kidding. Sorry, it doesn't help you. Now, if you're going to cheat like Philadelphia does with this rugby play, which is not football, and it's 4th and 1, you know you're going to get it. Well, that's probably where most of the 4th downs are coming in. Is Josh Allen running? It's Philadelphia running that. So let's take away Phillies and Buffaloes because they're kind of unfair. Well, they're not unfair, but the Philly one's just not even football. The Josh Allen one, who has a big 6'4" quarterback who runs like a running back. So then you get, well, if I don't have that, what's the rest of the league? Probably 20%. So it becomes a stupid stat. It's analytics. What does that mean? What does even analytics mean? So this is where I argue to be careful about stats. You're really not getting the proper stats, right? The stats are meaningless. This is why I say the technical analysis usually is meaningless. You're looking at stocks or the gold or something before, and it did this in 2008, and it did that, and it did this. But based on what set of variables? How did you develop the trend analysis to now use it now? Can you use now versus a few years ago? And I've showed you many examples that in football, you can't. In football, you've got a new coach. You've got Jalen Daniels now. How can I use old Washington trends? I can't. I certainly can't use it when Joe Theismann was there, and I can't use it in the 90s. And then here, that's 30 years ago. And then the last few years, they've sucked. But now here comes Daniels. So can I go back 10 years and look at Redskin trends and use that to predict? No, because I had a different coach. I had a different quarterback. So if I gave you those numbers, they'd be meaningless. You'd be betting against Washington, but now the variables changed and you need to bet on them. They'll talk about gold and silver. Oh, it's in a teacup and this and that. And it's all bullshit because up until 2023, now you have bricks buying and gold and silver going up. And now you've got Basel III, where if they do the shorts, they got to cover to the people asking for delivery. Well, it changes the whole thing. Plus gold's now going, plus the dollar is worthless. The massive inflation is not measured properly either. Another statistic that's full of shit. Oh, inflation's 2% because we're looking at prices, but not on everything. We're not looking at car prices. We're looking at prices of shit, tangerines and apples. Oh, wait, yeah. And a year over year, they're up 2%. I don't even know what they're looking at, if you can even get a list of 2% of what. And why are you going year over year? Well, the cost. So we think inflation is costs going up when it's not. And we'll just measure last year to this year. So they're giving you fake statistics. They're giving you 2% or 3%. It's totally meaningless. Of what? That's not even the correct way to measure inflation, which you can't do. And it's not costs going up. So again, to explain inflation, you're printing the money because there's no backing. There's no gold backing it, and there's no anchor. So they just keep printing and printing and printing the dollars. And that makes it worth less. Like I say, it's like eating a chocolate cake every day. You're going to get and say, I didn't gain it. I gained 2% of my fat. No, that's the problem with it. So to try to measure inflation, you can't because it's money printing. So it's how much money was printed last year versus how much money was printed this year. But even that, all that does is weaken the dollar, and which all that does is say it takes more dollars to buy a Coke or to buy a Pepsi or to buy a Toyota. It takes more dollars to buy it. That's what the inflation is. The dollar is worth less because you keep printing it because you don't have it backed by gold or silver. So therefore, the statistic of inflation is a joke. The trade imbalance is a joke. It's not. There is no such thing. Japan selling you Toyotas, and you're paying with money. That's the trade. The trade is the good for the money. So how can there be an imbalance? They're charging you 40 grand. You're giving them 40 grand. It's all even. There's no trade imbalance. They're certainly not cheating us. It's a fair. I heard Trump not understand what a fair trade is. Well, a fair trade is simply, here's Canadian Club. I want to trade you this for money. So a fair trade is we both get what we want. I want $50. You think that's a good price and you want the whiskey. Is it a fair trade? Yes, because I got $50 and you got the whiskey. We're both happy. We both got what we want. An unfair trade is you giving me 500 for it. Wait a minute, it's too expensive. I don't want to give you 500 for it. And so I would benefit because I sold my whiskey, but you wouldn't benefit because you paid too much. So a fair trade is both parties are happy with the transaction. That's what a fair trade is. Trump's killing that with his tariffs. He's making their costs go up. This is not a cost to our manufacturers. This is a cost to the producer, right? So if steel goes up, Ford and GM do not have to accept that price. They can say, "Nah, I paid $100 for the steel. Now you want to charge me 200? No, I'm going to give you 100." And even then, doesn't force the price up. It just costs the manufacturer more because they're the ones who get the tariff. Wait a minute, the steel is $50. I don't know how it's priced per pound or whatever. It's $50. I'm going to add this tariff, and now it's $100. So I got to sell it to you for 100. I'm not interested. I'll give you 50, not 100. So it's not a fair trade because now you're raising your costs. So now you want to sell it to me for more. That's too expensive. I'm not going to trade you the $100 for the steel. But I need the steel to make the car, so I will do it. But then I'm going to have to charge more for the car. Now it's not a fair trade with us. I want to buy a new Camry. Wait a minute, or Mercedes. I want to buy it, but wait a minute, it's too expensive. I'm not going to do it. It's not a fair trade to me. Just like me going to buy steak on Saturday. Everything was $17, $18 a pound. I said, no, that's not a fair trade. I'll give you 13 for the steak. I'm not going to give you 18. I don't care what you price it at. It's not a fair trade for me. The steak's too expensive. The ribs are too expensive. That's why I told the guy at the barbecue, if you make the ribs $45, it won't be a fair trade for the people buying it. Nope, it's too much. I'm not going to give you 45 for the slab. Keep it at 30. That's why I told them to keep it at 30 because your market is at 30, which is perceived of a fair trade. Silver at $38 an ounce right now. So I can go to the store right now and buy it for $40. You mark it up $2. Is there a fair trade? Yes, because I know the price of silver is it's kept low. It's price fixed. That's why I keep yelling about price fixing. The price is not the market price. It's price fixed, right? It's a futures market. Some guy said on Mark McGuire. Yeah, we know it's a futures market, but it's still price fixed. That should not be the real price of physical gold and silver. And why are we using futures? We shouldn't be using futures. Gold and silver should be the market. I'm going to sell it. I'll buy it at that price. Hey, everybody's buying. I'll raise the price. Okay. And people will still buy it. It's just like eBay. You don't need a futures market. That's just fantasy land. Futures market is just manipulated and price fixed. So I don't see the need, nor does it make any sense that you would have a futures market on anything. Give me the point and the reason of a futures market. See, these guys, they'll say it's not good or it's a futures market, but they want to explain it. What's a futures market? How come on Comex they do these options and they sell short and they buy? How much are they making? I mean, why are they keep doing it? Why are they allowed to do this? We want to get it to a physical market. Why isn't there two prices on gold? A paper bullshit price fixed or a physical price? Why isn't there a physical price of gold? And why would you use the paper price of gold as the physical price of gold? I mean, it just blows my mind how stupid these bankers really are. So again, that's where the statistics come in. You're trying to measure inflation, which is how much money is printed. Are you going to go, well, let's see, we printed $100 trillion last year and we're up to 120 trillion. All right, so that's 20 trillion would be the change. And what percentage of that over the 100 is maybe you can do that, but that's a different, you're doing a different thing. You're trying to measure, what I'm trying to measure is how much value did this drop? And we can use gold, but we can't, it's price fixed. It's kind of hard to use gold. We can probably use things on eBay that are, not like the Montana guy, the Jordan rookie, things like that. We can probably use for inflation better than we can use anything else. But why do we want to measure inflation? Oh, well, it's 2%, it's 3%. Why are you measuring it? It's 10%. Why are you measuring it? First of all, you can. Secondly, what does it tell you? You always have to ask, what is it telling you? Why are you doing it? That's the key to it. So I'm not quite sure what that is of why you're measuring it. Doesn't really make a lot of sense. It's just put out there like OPS in war and baseball and like going for fourth down in football and 3-point shots in basketball. Well, they're worth more. Yeah, but the percentage that you're going to make a 3-point shot versus a slam dunk or a layup aren't even close. The slam dunk's going to be 100%. The layup, let's say, is 95%. And the 3-point shot maybe is 20, 25%. So I can take, all these 3-point shots and miss them, or I could get the ball in the paint and dunk and make layups, which are going to be 95, 100%. So you got to be careful. You got to ask, what does it mean? And I think OPS is there to hide the fact there's only 7 hitters with the 300 batting average. That's what it's hiding, right? It's showing you how bad baseball is, and that's what's happening. And it's again, they can use stats to represent whatever they want to make it look good, right? Oh, gold will go up because of the tea kettle and the little boy or whatever. You're like, what does that have to do with anything? Because well, it's in a teapot shape, and now it's really going to go up. No, it's going to go up because of Basel III and BRICS. That's why gold and silver is going up. That's why we're near 3,400 on gold, and now we're trying to get into the 40s with silver. It's because of the new variables that have changed, not because of now we're in a teacup. If we look at the chart, we're in a teacup. That doesn't matter. Charts are bullshit because it's how are they made? Did anything change? Well, yeah, there's a teacup. If we look at New England with Tom Brady, and they should win 15 games this year, but Tom Brady's not there. So your trend has broken. You can't look at the chart. There's a Tom Brady chart, but without Tom Brady, I can't, they're going to win 16 games again because, that's what they did with Brady. No, because if they have a new quarterback, they go down to 5 or 6 wins. And that's my whole point about the variables changing, the Brady going, the Peyton Manning going, now you added Penix and you added Bo Nix and you added Jalen Daniels. That's critical, right? New coaches. Oh, now Harbaugh's at San Diego. Now you can maybe chart Baltimore with Lamar that they're going to do this in the regular season and this in the postseason. So you could chart it, but I don't think you need a chart for that. Now, we could do a technical analysis because nothing's changed. It's Lamar and Harbaugh. They added Henry. Okay. So we can pretty much do the last 3 or 4 years with Baltimore and Buffalo and Kansas City. But you can't. Bo Nix arrives, so you got a 1 year Denver, you got a 1 year San Diego with Harbaugh, and so you must understand the variables. So does a technical analysis work? It depends on the variable. It will not work in stocks or gold or silver because of what BRICS is doing, because of these tariffs. There's the variables. So if you look at it and you look at a chart, if you don't understand what the variables were before and what the variables are now, it's absolutely useless. Oh, well, yeah, whatever, Coca-Cola went up 20%. Okay, but it probably won't now because you have a recession, you have massive inflation, not 2%. Basically, what you need to understand are the concepts. The money's worth less, which means I need more money to buy the same thing, which is why you see Coke at $3.65 a 2 liter. Why did Coke raise their prices? To cover the fact that the money is not worth anything. All right. Even my cauliflower and broccoli went up in price. Why? Because it takes more money to buy the same cauliflower because the money's worth less. The cauliflower people aren't doing price increases. I think Nabisco and Coke kind of do that. I think they take advantage of the inflation, but like celery and things that aren't branded are more or less done by that's the other side of the inflation. They're not really raising their price. It's just the cost of the dollar is going down. Hey, David, how are you? What's up? We're just talking statistics now. Basically, how they're really not a good way to look at things. So I use baseball as an example, the OPS versus the batting average, and I basically said, what's the point of the OPS? Well, it's to hide the fact there's only 7 300 hitters in baseball, that the quality of play is so bad, but they don't want to say it. So they create this OPS that says, hey, this guy's got an 800 OPS, but you're relating it to batting average. You're going, oh, that's like an 800 batting average, isn't it? You don't know what's good and bad and ugly. At the end of the day, I still want to know his batting average. Can he hit home runs and can he drive in runs? His RBIs. That's what I care about. Do I care how many walks he gets? No, not at all. I want to know when they're second and third, he's going to drive in the run. Well, if he's got a 300 average, he will. If he's got a 230 average, he probably won't. And if he does get a hit with a high OPS, he'll probably hit a home run, but he'll only do it 1 in 20 times up at bat. Anyway, that's the gist of it. So we're looking at what are meaningful statistics? What are meaningful things? Is inflation meaningful? Not really. Not the 2 or 3% is not meaningful because it's not close to being accurate. That's the problem. So you got to watch, you got to really understand it. So printing money makes the money worth less. Otherwise, why doesn't the U.S. print $37 trillion and pay off the debt? Because they can't. Because if they did, the money would be worth zero. That's the problem. And you can say the same thing with Germany. They tried it in 1923. They printed the shit out of the Reichsmark to pay off these war debts from World War One. And it ended up where they were worthless and people were wallpapering their thing. You needed a wheelbarrow to go to the grocery store for bread and ice cream and eggs and milk. They did print to try to pay off the debt, but it didn't work. All it did was collapse the dollar. What do you think of AI technology? They have robots now, could be the future. I think it sucks. I think it's a control issue. I think you're looking at Terminator. Who's controlling the robots? What do you do if you run into a robot? He's going to shoot you. What are you going to do with him? I think it can get way out of hand. I don't like it because I like to problem solve and I like to think. And I don't want to have a robot do that for me because he can't. He can't figure the way I figure. He can't analyze the way I analyze. He can just spit out data. So, like I said, if he was looking at Washington, he would look at the last 5 years and he'd have all this bad data. And then here comes Daniels, right? He comes in last year. Would the robot be smart enough to go, I can't use the last 4 years, I can only use this year? Can you program them? Just give me Daniel's figures? Possibly. But they think, well, wait a minute, Washington needs the game to make the playoffs. Washington needs the game to be the 1 seed. Washington just played a tough game with Philadelphia. Next week they won. Can you program that in? That's how I think. I doubt AI can problem solve and think like that. I don't see why we need it. I don't like it. There's nothing I understand that would do benefit for us. Again, what's the point of it? Don't just say it's AI. Tell me what is artificial intelligence. Sounds pretty fucking scary to me. Just like, you got robots at the auto plant, welding cars together. That's scary enough, but they're programmed. Screw this in and here's put the frame on and put the tires on and paint it, whatever. I get that. But you're replacing humans with that. Anytime you replace humans, I don't like it. But AI, I really don't understand it. I don't get the benefit of it. I don't need anybody to problem solve for me. Not me. That's my forte. That's how I'm so successful picking football games, even picking baseball. You see me make changes. This isn't working. Let's try that. Is AI going to be able to do that? Can they do a budget? Are they understanding the variables? When I do a budget, it's what did we do last year? Let's keep it simple. Let's do a home budget. Well, we painted the outside of the house last year. It was $5,000. So my budget has to ask, are we painting the house again this year? If not, we take $5,000 off. Are we getting a new car? Did we pay off our car, our property tax? You have to go into everything you spent to see if you're going to redo it the following year to create a budget. Yeah, you can do your mortgage. You know what that is. Your utilities, you have a pretty good idea unless they go up. Do you need clothes? Do you need medical? Did your kids move out or did they grow up? Your food's going up. You got to crank that in. You're going on a vacation. So there's all these variables that you need to ask. The budget, or AI how are they going to get the information? Where's AI getting the information? Oh, some guy's programming it. What the fuck does he need AI for? The programmer can just answer all those questions. No, we're not painting the house, and food, we're going to add 10% for food and da-da-da-da-da, right? And that's how we get it. So I'm not really quite sure on AI. Alex is our AI guy. I'm waiting to get his input. He likes it, but he can't explain it. And that's where the problem is. I explain everything, right? I explain what inflation, it's money printing. It ends up where the money loses value. So you need more money to buy the same Pepsi and Coke and steaks and hamburgers and everything else. So you need more money to buy the same thing. And that's the problem with it. You must understand that it's not. So why would you measure prices year over year as inflation? Why do you think it's prices going up? It's not. So what are you saying? Well, we need to use more money to buy the steak. So if the steak was $12 and now it's $18, well, that's a 50% increase. So is your inflation 50%? On cars, it's even higher. Obviously, gold and silver, it's much higher. On shirts, well, wait a minute, there's less people buying them, so we got to lower their price. So you got to understand why the prices are going up and down. Oh shit, I got a lot of competition and nobody can afford half the shit. So I got to lower my price to stay in business. But the dollar being printed makes the dollar worth less. So therefore I need more dollars to buy. But we are the market. So like I said, the steak going from 12 to 18, probably still very cheap because the dollar's lost 100% of its value. It has no value. And so therefore to buy a steak for $18 is fine because it's inflated dollars. It's monopoly money. But you still don't think it's a fair trade because you're used to paying 12 and 13. So I went to my meat store and I go to the butcher. You're over market. That's all I said to him. I said your prices are over market, and I walked away. Like I'm not buying your bullshit $18 steaks. You can't raise them from 12 to 18. If you do, go fuck off. I'm not going to pay for it. It's not a fair trade for me. Even though the dollar's worthless, I'm still only going to give you $12, $13 for the steak. I'm not going to give you $20 for the steak. It's not going to happen. You've already done it with salmon, where salmon went up to, and all of a sudden it's $20, probably because of shipping costs and gas to go get the salmon and then deliver it all the way to the grocery store. So that I kind of buy when it's on sale. I bought some, it was $14 a pound. So I got a pound. But that, okay, but I'm not going to spend 25 on black pearl salmon. I love that name. But I'm not going to do it. It's not a fair trade to me, even though it probably is, because the money printing is making the dollar worth less, which I know. So therefore, should we do it? Right? That's the whole key. The money printing is making the dollar worth less, but in our minds, it's still, I only have a limited amount of money. And if I spend it, I don't have a money tree. So I got to be careful. So, yeah. So, David, the AI part, I really don't understand it. It sounds a lot like these statistics on OPS versus batting average in baseball or going for fourth down. All of a sudden, they develop a stat that's totally meaningless. Depends on situation and the player and the team if going for fourth down is wise. But don't just go for it to go for it just because of the statistic. So my whole point is be careful of statistics, especially when you hear it and you don't understand it, like a WAR or an OPS. What is WAR? I have no idea. And why is it so difficult for me to understand it? And what does it mean? You're better than the backup. Well, obviously, if you're the starter, you should be better than the backup. What the hell does that have to do with the price of tea? So again, is it a good statistic? Just because somebody throws out a statistic, inflation's 3%, is that true? What is inflation? Is 3% accurate? No, it's not. It is not. Price increases, and 3% is nowhere near the inflation rate. So you got to understand all that. It's bullshit. It's a way of masking something. So the OPS masks there's only 7 300 hitters. The inflation rate of 3% year over year prices mask the 50%, 100% inflation we're actually getting. If you looked at steaks and cars and clothes and things like that, gold, silver, you just looked at stuff, you know it's not 3%. So I don't know where they come up with it at. So that's what I want to kind of warn you of. That's why I say you cannot necessarily use technical analysis, especially in stocks or gold, because the whole thing now you've added tariffs, you've added BRICS, you've added Basel III. So you've added a lot of new variables. So you can't look at a stock chart and a trend and think this is what's going to happen. You can't use it. You can use it as a history, but you have to go, well, it's green until BRICS comes in. Now it's blue, and now it's orange because Basel III is now in. So you can only use orange versus orange or blue versus blue or red versus red. because these are taking different variables. 2008, you didn't have BRICS, you didn't have Basel III, and you had massive inflation, and you had housing prices. People can't afford their house because they never should have bought the house. People with no jobs and a bad credit score, why are you loaning them money? And then wondering why they're not paying, and why the banks are using these loans to try to get 10% on them and sell them as instruments when they're bullshit. So why are the banks doing this? So they can make money, but they're not AAA rated. They're probably triple D rated. So you're not being honest with everybody, which no surprise, they never are. So that's why you got to take everything with a grain of salt, and you got to go, sure. And then you got to read into it. And then you got to figure out, like, AI, what is it? What's the benefit of it? Why would I ever use it? I would never use it. I don't like if I apply for a job, they ask me, do you want to let AI look at it? And I go, no, because AI is only skimming words. And if I didn't have the word in my resume that AI is looking for, I'll get looked over. So I want an actual HR person, but I don't think I'm getting that. I think I'm just getting some computer reading my resume and kicking me out because I keep getting, well, after careful consideration, we're not even going to interview you. Is it my master's or is it my 30 years of experience that you don't want to talk about? Just insanity. Anyway, so that's what I wanted to say because I think it's important. Let's see. The era of golden billion is over. What does this mean?
We can all see that the world is undergoing dramatic changes. The old unipolar system of international relations, which served the elite interests of the so-called golden billion, is fading into the past. And it is being replaced by a more just multipolar world. The shift in the global economic order is gaining momentum. Everything points to the fact that the liberal globalization model has exhausted itself. The center of business activity is moving toward developing markets, unleashing a powerful wave of growth, including within BRICS countries. To make the most of these opportunities, it's crucial that BRICS states intensify cooperation, especially in areas like technology, resource development, logistics, insurance, trade, and finance. We must also keep expanding the use of national currencies in mutual settlements. Creating an independent BRICS-based clearing and depository system will make financial transactions faster, more efficient, and more secure. And it's worth noting, the use of national currencies in trade among our countries is steadily growing. As of 2022, 90% of Russia's trade with other BRICS nations is settled in our national currencies, the ruble and those of our friendly partners. We can all see that the world is undergoing dramatic changes.
So what I get out of that is, first of all, it's gold-backed currency. That's why it's more stable. Secondly, how can you sanction and or tariff Russia when 90% of their transactions aren't done with the U.S.? Does it make any sense? Not at all. Things only work if it's a monopoly and there's no competition. So therefore you can't go to other, let's say you go to an Italian restaurant and they're getting really expensive and the food's terrible. Well, it's a monopoly. If you want Italian, we're the only restaurant in town, then you have to eat there. That's the beauty of competition. And Adam Smith is basically, I'm going to make another Italian restaurant. I'm going to compete with these idiots. And all I got to do is make better food and keep my prices down, and everybody will come to me. And that's the point of it. So what Trump's doing with tariffs is the most stupidest thing I've ever heard of in my life, because there's competition. Everybody will then buy their goods from China and Russia and India, Vietnam. So you go buying they all make golf clubs and T-shirts and stuff. Made in China, made in Vietnam, made in Korea, made in India. It's all right there. And mostly it's like Apple has moved to China and India and things like that. Microsoft and Nike and all these are moved to China, So what are you kidding me? So the only thing that you go to the U.S. is the one who buys your goods. But the other countries will buy your goods anyway, right? Everybody else needs clothes and, Pat's in Singapore, he needs shirts and pants and glasses and he wants to go play golf and tennis. They sell it there also. So plus you add the US dollar's worthless. So do I even want to sell to the US? And that's the other thing with these global currencies. You have to have a gold backed currency. You're selling the ruble for the yuan. Both the currencies are worthless. You sell the rupee, the Indian, with Iran or Turkey. Both their currencies are worthless. So you can't get the trade in. I don't want this shit. I want gold. That's why they have to have gold. All their currencies are worthless. Plus, you're using this FX mark of the US to come up with what they are, which is not good. So if we come here, and I'm going to show you the FX. So this is the FX price. $1 buys you 86 cents euro. All right. Why? It's arbitrary. It's just bullshit. It's not, there's no measuring, there's no supply and demand. There's no, that's not enough. I need $1 to $1. But there isn't any. So let's go to the Indian rupee. $1 buys you 85 rupees. India's broke. Do I want this money? And how are you gonna do it? So I'm Russia. So let's say I do India versus Russia. So one Russian ruble buys you 110 ruby. That shows you how bad the rubies are. The Russians are 78 to the dollar and the rupees 85. So do I give you, so if you're Indian, you're buying my oil and I charge you 1,000 rubles, you got to give me 1,100 rupees. But how are we getting these? These prices aren't real. These are just made up fantasy, just like comex. So let's look at, well, we got to do it this way. So $1 buys 78 rubles. How are you getting that? Bullshit. That's not a real number either. It's not based on supply and demand because we don't even deal with it. So why are we using the US dollar to come up with these FX prices? So when Russia and India trade, they're using the way it was created by the US to come up with the trade. It's not fair. It's not correct. Since all the dollars are printed, the ruble, the rupee, the Chinese yuan, and everything else, they're all worthless. So I'm trading you my worthless ruble for your worthless rupee, or for your useless yuan, or for you useless Swiss franc, or England pound, or any of that. So what they're doing by using their own currency to get the value, they have no idea, because none of the values are worth anything, right? You must keep that in mind. it's not worth anything. So now here comes Trump in panic mode. BRICS just crushed the U.S. economy with 100% tariffs. So what they're doing is saying, if you want to sell to China, we're going to add 100% tariff on your goods. Well, I don't think we sell anything to China anyway, because we don't make anything. We're not making shirts. We do have gold that we make the gold coin and the silver coin. That's about it. But those aren't tariffs. So Trump's trying to bully everybody into saying, I'm going to tariff you. It's going to raise your cost to sell to me. How that helps the U.S., he thinks he's getting that tax. So it's like a sales tax. So what he's saying is, I'm going to get the sales tax, and I'm going to charge you tax. So I'll get more money, which will help on my $37 trillion debt. So I'm going to try to get $37 trillion in tariffs. That's his whole idea, because he wants to be the winner. So he's looking at, how can we get out of this 37 trillion? Oh, I'll just simply tariff the whole world. And if I do 25 or 50%, I'll get more, and they'll just agree to it. And then so their costs go up, and we'll buy everything, and it will raise our cost. And and then he's not. It's gonna, they can't necessarily raise the price because of fair trade. You make things that are made in China, like this shirt. So I'm going to pay $10 more for the shirt? No, I won't. I won't pay it. I'll substitute it for something else. Or I'll just not buy the shirt right now. I have shirts. I just wanted to refresh. That's what I did July 4th. I went up to the outlet mall and bought a bunch of shirts and some sweatpants and some shorts and some socks. I just won't do it. I have some. I just can wear old then if it's going to be that. So this is the problem with the tariffs. So now they're retaliating, but we don't sell anything to these other companies anyway. So maybe GM and Ford, I guess. But there's not a whole lot. Microsoft's in China, so they're not, the computer. But so I ask you, how does the stock market go up? You're adding cost on China's end and now on the U.S. end. Well, this is only if we want to sell to China. If we're selling to Canada or we're selling to Germany, we don't have to worry about the tariff. So what you're doing is you're killing free trade, is what you're doing. We're not going to trade with you. You're not going to trade with us. We're both losers, because we need some of your products and you need some of our products. You need our IT stuff. But otherwise, we don't make a whole lot here anymore. It all went to China and it's going to India and Vietnam. They're the ones who are doing it. So a lot of what we'll get, it'll now come from Vietnam and India, because China will run to Vietnam and make it, but say, hey, it's from Vietnam. That's what they were doing with Mexico. China was getting things made in Mexico, and it would come across to us made in Mexico when it was really Chinese goods. All right. What I don't get with this war is, so let me see. Germany, you're gonna take $100 billion that you don't have to buy weapons from the defense contractors and give it to Ukraine. You're just gonna give it to Ukraine. You're not gonna charge Ukraine. So you're gonna gift them $100 billion Stinger missiles or Patriot or Tomahawks. You're just gonna give it to them and get nothing back in return. That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. Why would you buy them? You're giving them gifts. You're giving them weapons as a gift. And you're just going to give it to them. You're not going to get anything back for it. Really? Does that make any sense at all? No. Why would you not get anything back for it? It doesn't make sense. Why would I buy some? It's like buying, um, you know, I don't know. It's different with family. You buy them dinner, okay, because you love them. So I guess you get the love back for taking, buying them dinner. But if I'm going to the pool, and it'd be like me buying a basketball, they have a gym, and I'm going to just give it to them and get nothing back for it. Well, it's incredibly stupid. There's charity, I get, but why would I buy weapons and just give it to the Ukraine? So I'm going to pay for it and give it to the Ukraine because the U.S. is run by the defense contractors who want, it'll get the U.S. out of the depression we're in by Germany buying weapons so the defense contractors can make money, and then they're just going to give it to the Ukraine. Just give it to them because you're in a fake war with Russia. I mean, the whole thing is just this. It's the dumbest thing I've ever heard of. All right, let's quickly. No one's buying. The car market is about to collapse. Now, this is a month old. I'm just going to take 2 minutes. So these are the warning signs the economy is fucked up.
But remember, all of this, the car market is beginning to collapse. After a short-lived sales spike earlier this spring as buyers rushed to beat Trump's new tariffs,
customers are in a panic. There's a frenzy going on. They want to buy cars before the tariffs hit and prices go up.
U.S. auto sales have plunged by nearly 10% in the month of May, the sharpest drop in over a year. But this isn't just a demand problem. The average new vehicle now costs around $50,000, and even a 3-year-old used car goes for about $30,000. Loan delinquencies are rising, repossessions have ticked up, and now automakers are staring down a market that simply can't sustain these prices. But remember...
Okay, so there was 3 different things he said there. There's no demand because it's not a fair trade. Cars are now $50,000. Is that included in your inflation? Price of cars have gone up probably a lot more than 3%. They were probably 35, 40,000 are now 50,000. That's 20, 30%, not 3. How do they get 3% inflation? Oh, well, we're not including cars. Why not? So you have that. The demand's gone because it's so you're over market. As I said to the state guy, I'll pay 25 for the Camry. Well, it's 40 now. There's nobody home. There's no buyers. The buyers are going to reject it. So now you have the car makers, GM and Ford, sitting there, and probably Toyota and the Japanese and the other thing, probably sitting there going, what the fuck do we do? Because just because, this is what I'm saying, just because my costs went up does not mean I can pass the price along. People will not pay $50,000 because it's not a fair trade, and they probably can't afford it. Who has $50,000 to buy a bullshit Camry or a Ford or GM or anything? Maybe a Corvette, but that's about it. So you've got no market. You're overpriced. The price is here, and you're up, and you're trying to sell it there. The market's here. Why is the stock market going up? Because there's a lot of car part manufacturers and car parts and cars that they can't just keep making cars if there's no demand for the product, right? So all of a sudden there's no customers. We got to cut back. So therefore we've got to lay off people because we're trying to raise prices, but people aren't going to buy. There's no market for the buyer. So the stock market should be crashing because a lot of things that go into a car aren't going to be done. Interior, exterior, the lights, the tires. That's going to affect a lot of different little industries. And there's a lot of tier 2 and tier 3. They're called, so Ford puts the car together, but they get the parts from the tier 2 and the tier 3. Oh, I need stuff for the engine. Well, I'm going to get that from the engine guy, and I need stuff for the transmission. I'm going to get that. I need lights. I'm going to go to the lighting guy, and I need brakes. I'm going to the brake guy. All they do is they take all this and put it together, but they're not doing it on their own. Ford doesn't make the car. Ford takes from the vendors all the parts needed. There's probably 1,000 parts in the car. So there's 1,000 vendors they're going, and there's competition. So there's probably 5,000 vendors, of which, because there's probably 4 or 5 for, for lighting. I'm sure there's not one guy. There's probably 5. Not only that, but the market's collapsing. Nobody wants it. No demand, because it's not a fair trade anymore. See how everything works if you just look at it in economic terms instead of listening to the bullshit? So that's where you're at. And you got to realize that the car market is dead because your price is too high. You can blame the tariffs for items you're getting from China, the lights and the transmission and the engine. You probably got all from China. And now Trump comes in and raises those costs, because now here's my normal $1,000. Oh, but I got to pay the tariff. So you either got to buy it from not China. So I got to get all my auto parts from Vietnam or India or some cheap labor place if you can, but it probably takes time, or some competition where it's cheaper. But you can't just blame the tariff and raise the price and wonder why nobody's buying. $45 ribs. That guy goes up to $45. He closes. I told him that, and he's kept it at 30. So that's what hurts restaurants when the food goes up. You can't just pass it on to to the customer. The customer doesn't have a money tree. It doesn't grow. He has limited money, and that's it. And that's the problem. The money's limited. So I can't afford to pay another $10,000, have a $1,500 car payment. I can't afford that. So I'm going to buy a used car. But even you said the used car, we're up to $30,000. So I got more money in my Camry than I thought. I got a 18 Camry, but I don't even have. I got 75,000 miles on it. I don't even have 100,000 miles. I've driven the car since 2018. Thanks to being remote, or a lot of the things, work hasn't been very far, so it's been good for that reason. But that's the thing. It's because people. It's like Rolex in reverse. Why are the Rolexes so expensive? Because you got to wait a year for them to make yours. And if you're some rich son of a bitch, you don't want to wait, because most of them are babies. So they want their toy now. They want their food now. So you want a Rolex, and you go to get the Rolex, and well, we got to make it for you. It's going to take a year. Let's say it's $100,000 Rolex that you want gold and diamonds, and it's Rolex. And I have a used one, and I have one that I have. Well, I'll sell it to you, but I want $200,000 because you can have it tomorrow. And they will pay more because they got to have it now. So it's reversed. Most everything else doesn't do that, where it's it's the production's stronger. So you don't have that wait time. But the rich people with the Rolexes or something, they would want it now, and they cry and do that. But in a car situation, it's reversed. Well, the new car is now 50,000. Oh, well, I have an older Camry, 75,000 miles on it. How about 25,000? And you go, oh, that's great. It's only 25,000. It's a Camry. I'll buy it because it's cheaper, because it's already been driven, and I only paid 25,000 for it at the time. Now it's 50. It's too expensive. So I want a car, but I only want to pay 25, 30. Oh, okay. Yeah, here's a nice Camry. Oh, okay. Yeah, I'll take that. No problem. So that's kind of how it works differently. let's see.
All of this has really happened before Trump's new auto tariffs have gone into full effect.
Be honest with me.
Yes.
They will start going up at some point. Is it in
absolutely.
June? When do we see industry prices, not just for Toyota, but everybody, start to go up?
You're absolutely correct. 25% tariffs are unsustainable. Nobody has profit margins like that, so everyone will have to eventually.
So when do we see prices go up?
Well, you've already seen some of them go up. You've already seen.
But widespread, would you say June?
Absolutely. I think when you get to June or the end of June at least, you're going to see people they're going to feel the pressure.
See, this guy, whoever's talking, is an idiot. Because will the market, see, this is the difference between us and the rest of these morons. You can't just raise your prices. We've been talking. This is dependent on will the market pay. So I can raise my price if I'm GM in June 25%. I won't have any buyers. I have to hit the market. If the market's here, I can't raise the price on my car. Just because I raise the price doesn't mean the market's going to buy it. The market's going to tell you to fuck off. So the market's here. You have to sell it here. Tariffs or no tariffs, you cannot raise your price and expect to sell anything. You can raise your price. You're not going to sell because the market cannot afford $50,000 for a $25,000 car. They immediately raised Camry to $35,000 because I go in for my oil changes. And the guy says, I can't sell any. I go, because your market's here. Your market's here. You can't be $35,000. There's nobody home. There's nobody willing to pay $35,000 for a Camry. So you can raise the price, but you can't sell it. So you ended up going down to like 26, 27. And that was okay for the $25,000 people. But I'm sure he gave them a good interest rate. All right. So again, here's an idiot, but he's in a suit and he's on, what is this, CNBC. And he says, of course, they'll all raise. They have to because nobody has a 25% margin. Well, but you can't. So you're going to go out of business because you cannot afford the higher cost of the tariff and sell the car for that. You can't do that. This is why car companies will go out of business because they can't, it's like this mug, this glass, right? Oh, it's a $5 glass. Well, they tariffed it. Now I got to sell it for 15. There's nobody that can buy it. Well, what do I do? My costs are 10, but I can only get 5 for the glass. So what I can do is I got to go out of business because I can't sell it for more than my cost. And I can't raise my price because nobody will buy it. I can try to raise my price, but nobody's buying it. Can you explain to me why the stock market is high? And don't anybody realize what's going on with the tariffs in the stock market? And they're all just buying. Now, Bitcoin has no conscience of the economy, apparently, because we don't know what Bitcoin, it's not even real, but we don't know why it's 100,000. What's driving the price? The inflation of the dollar being worthless, but then that makes Bitcoin worthless because Bitcoin's priced in dollars. Just like your house will go to zero because it's priced in dollars. Anything priced in dollars goes to zero because you don't have dollars anymore. So where Bitcoin's not like the stock market is how the future, of the companies, how they're going to do in the future. Well, how are they going to do well with all these tariffs? And yet you see the stock market at 44 grand, which is why I'm warning you. Get the fuck out of the stock market and get the fuck out of the banks and don't have anything in the safety deposit box at the bank because they will close up and be worthless. Look at Lehman Brothers. Let's say you had a safety deposit box at Lehman Brothers or whatever bank they controlled. Oh, sorry, we're closed. Can't get it. There's nobody here to let you in. Too bad. We'll take the safety deposit box. All right, here's one. Toyota and Honda are leaving America. More good news.
The number one cause of heart attacks and strokes isn't hypertension. It isn't cholesterol. Too much red.
Toyota and Honda, two giants of the auto world, are quietly pulling out of the United States. While Washington focuses on tariffs and trade wars, Japanese automakers are making bold moves, shifting massive production to Mexico, Canada, and Asia. What's behind this sudden shift? Is it labor costs, new free trade agreements, or something bigger?
What free
And
trade
what does this mean
agreement?
for American workers, towns built around car factories, and the future of U.S. manufacturing? In this video, we uncover the real reasons behind this silent exodus and what it means for the global car economy. Buckle up, it's more than just about cars. Toyota and Honda have long been celebrated as key pillars of America's auto industry. From sprawling factories in Ohio and Alabama to massive logistics operations stretching across the Midwest, Japanese automakers have been deeply integrated into the US manufacturing economy for decades. But now, something has changed and most people aren't paying attention. In the past year, both companies have quietly begun scaling back production in several US-based facilities. Honda recently confirmed it will phase out some operations at its Ohio and Indiana plants, while Toyota has begun reallocating production of key models like the Tacoma and Corolla from its US facilities to newer, more cost-effective plants in Mexico and Asia. These moves haven't been widely publicized, but the implications are massive. Let's start with Toyota. In 2024, Toyota announced a major expansion of its plant in Guanajuato, Mexico, where it's now building vehicles once assembled in Texas. That expansion came with a $328 million investment and created over 2,000 jobs in Mexico, while hundreds of jobs quietly disappeared from its Texas and Mississippi facilities. At the same time, reports show Toyota is also building stronger supply chain routes to Asia, particularly for hybrid and electric vehicle components. Honda's shift is just as significant. Earlier this year, the company revealed plans to invest billions into EV production in Canada and to gradually wind down some operations in its US plants. Specifically, the Marysville Auto plant in Ohio, one of Honda's flagship American factories, is undergoing retooling, with many workers being offered voluntary buyouts. What used to be one of the most productive car...
So you can see they move out because of the costs are too high, as they should. Everybody gets laid off. You're too expensive. We'll go hire people in Mexico, Canada, and other areas. That's not good for the US. What are you doing? Why is the stock price up? I mean, the whole thing is just blows your mind what the hell they're doing. So that's not good that Toyota and Honda are leaving America for Mexico, Canada, and probably Japan. And they'll sell, they won't be able to handle the tariffs, so they'll just sell to other people. I showed you this yesterday. 100 nations walk out. BRICS rejects Trump. So basically what BRICS is saying, we got all these countries and we're going to a gold-backed currency and go fuck off. Because you want to tariff and sanction us and steal our $300 billion, i.e. Russia, what are you doing? And this is what's happening. Trump's not getting BRICS. BRICS is already 40 countries, going to be 100, because anybody who deals with the U.S. doesn't want to be sanctioned and tariffed. Nobody can afford the tariffs. You can see what damage it does. So they're all going to be aligned with China and Vietnam and Korea and India to make their product, whatever they're making there, because it's A, cheaper, and B, they'll just sell it amongst themselves. I mean, these are cities. I go to Europe. They buy the same shit we buy here. I was in Italy. I was in Barcelona. You've got stores all over the place, mostly clothes and food, and they're not buying from America, I doubt. They're buying, I don't know what country per se, but they buy. So it's not like the U.S. is the only consumer. Now we have 355 million. We'll probably be down to 255 million soon as people will bail because this is just bullshit. You're ruining the country because you're driving the prices up and you're driving the cost up. So that's the problem with your tariff act. So it's a very bad thing. That's why you want free trade. What are you fucking around? Well, we can pay off the $37 trillion debt. No, you can't, because nobody's going to do business with you. You're making it too expensive. Like I say, You're taking this $5, this my cost is 5, I sell it for 10. Tariffs make my cost 20. And that means I need to sell it for 25. And I can't. If I'm selling to you this at 10, you're not going to give me 25 for it. That's where all these people are idiots. You cannot just you can raise prices, but your sales will drop dramatically. Your profits will drop and you'll be out of business because you're not going to get these higher prices. I don't know what these guys are thinking. It doesn't work that way. The market is the market. You cannot just increase price and everybody will take it. And I gave you the steak story, $18 for New York strips. I said, you're over market and I will wait till it goes on sale. In the meantime, I'm buying grass-fed hamburger when it's meat's meat. I'm fine with that. Or I just made a bunch of chicken, so I'll eat that. But you've got to be careful. Your steaks are going to sit on their counter for a long time at $18 a pound, only because we're used to paying $12, $13. I noticed my ribs went up to $14.99 on sale. I was going to get those. They're $14.99. I'm not paying $14.99 for three ribs. So it's bone, rib, bone, rib, bone, rib, and it comes like in a line. And $10.99 is okay. $11.99, $14.99. It's going to cost me $15, and most of it's bone. No, I'm not going to do that. So it's really ridiculous. But you just keep going in there because it'll be on sale because they're not going to sell them. They will not keep selling them. So if you go back on a Tuesday and a Wednesday, days where people don't shop usually, that's when you'll find your sales. I'll go into Target or I'll go into Meijer's, and all of a sudden I'll see blueberries at $1.50 a thing on like a Tuesday. And now I'm starting to figure it out. It's because people will not shop. They'll all shop on the weekends, right? I don't have to work. I'll go shopping. That's why it's so crowded Saturday and Sunday. So they don't need to do the sales. But on Monday or Tuesday, now there's nobody in the store. So they'll start putting things on sale that didn't sell on the weekend. So I've kind of caught that. All right. So 100 nations walk out. Let's see this.
JTC Panic Proof Retirement. This guy is killing me. What he's doing to the market is a stark.
100 countries received. Chaos erupts in D.C. The Treasury Secretary storms out, tie crooked, eyes blazing. 5 words echo across the room. We sent the letters. 100. 100 nations hit with tariff threats. No deals, no diplomacy, just raw economic pressure. But here's the shocker. Most of the world didn't even respond. They're trading more with China and BRICS than the U.S. and Washington's threats. They're starting to sound irrelevant. This isn't a trade strategy. It's a warning shot from a system that's breaking apart. Stay ahead of the shift. Subscribe now, and let's unpack what comes next. 100 countries received what Besant calls tariff letters. Critics, though, call them something else. Ultimatums. No dialogue, no diplomacy, just a blunt, industrial-strength demand. Renegotiate trade on America's terms, or face tariff rates not seen since the 1930s. Besant claims these letters will reset tariff rates to April levels, some as high.
And we know what happened in the 1930s. We had the Great Depression, which was caused by the Smoot-Hawley Tariff Act. So we know what's going to happen because we've seen it before. So here comes these idiots doing it again, wondering why we're going to go bankrupt again.
Is 50%. But here's the first contradiction. None of these countries agreed to negotiate in the first place. Vietnam, South Korea, and Mexico? Sure, they rely heavily on U.S. exports. But most of the 100 recipients? Radio silence. No responses, no outreach, no sign of worry. What does that mean? Either they don't believe Trump will follow through or they've already moved on. That silence isn't just defiance. It's indifference. And it bites. Bloomberg's global trade trackers reveal a stark reality. Over 63 of these countries now trade more with China or India than with the U.S. That's not politics. It's math. Why would they agree to lopsided deals with Washington when they're already plugged into lower tariff trade networks like BRICS? They're not rebelling. They're just not listening. The timing couldn't be worse. Trump's tariff deadline has been a moving target. First July 7th, then August 1st. Now vaguely a signal, not a deadline. But markets see through the haze. When Bessent's words hit Bloomberg terminals, the S&P 500 tanked 2.1% intraday. Investors weren't spooked by the tariffs themselves. They were rattled by the chaos surrounding them. Add in a $3.4 trillion tax expansion passed just weeks ago, and fears of debt-fueled inflation are now baked into the policy. There's no clear line, just warnings that don't land and trade partners who don't pick up the phone. Then there's the second front, BRICS. Trump's latest directive slaps an automatic 10% penalty tariff on any nation tied to what he calls anti-American BRICS policies. Problem is, anti-American is a blank slate. Does it mean de-dollarization, joint infrastructure projects, multilateral trade settlements? Under this logic, even Germany, a NATO ally, could face penalties for settling trade with China in yuan. Brazil could get hit with double duties just for exploring a BRICS reserve asset program, one that would settle commodity trades like oil or lithium in a non-dollar currency. That program doesn't even exist yet. This isn't a line in the sand. It's a moving target painted on anyone trading outside the dollar. Here's the deeper irony. The U.S. built the global trading system it's now trying to dismantle. The WTO, the IMF, SWIFT, bilateral free trade agreements, these were Washington's creations, funded and enforced for decades. Now, with BRICS carving out a separate financial bloc rooted in non-dollar settlements and raw commodity trades, America's own framework is being turned against it. The world's watching, but it's not answering. Is it a trade war or a wake-up call? The very interdependence the U.S. once embraced is now boxing it in. Let's pause and dig into this, because what some call a trade strategy is starting to look like a containment doctrine with no clear limits. This isn't diplomacy. It's a high-stakes shotgun wedding with a ticking clock and no groom in sight. Let's break it down with the numbers. Back in 2000, the G7 controlled 70% of global GDP. Today, it's down to just 43%. Meanwhile, the BRICS nations, Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, have surged from 18% to 34%.
That's not true. It's like 57%. Anyway, that's enough of that. But so the point is, it's called competition. I don't need the US. I can trade with BRICS. Oh, I can get BRICS gold backed currency instead of the US dollar. That's worthless. You must understand the dollar has been inflated. But they're calling inflation prices, right? Oh, there's threats of inflation. No, the dollar's already gone. It's lost 99% of its value. So what the hell are you talking about? What are you talking about with inflation? It is not prices. Just because costs go up does not mean inflation's going up. It means prices might go up, maybe, if the market will allow it. If it won't, prices won't go up. But it doesn't mean inflation, which is through the roof, is already much, much higher. Very soon, this dollar won't be worth shit, right? This. I don't know how much more to fold it. Here, this is the new dollar. It's worth a penny. Right, there it is. There's your US dollar. It has no value. You can't keep printing it. That's the inflation, yet nobody wants to say that. They want to keep calling it prices because the government won't like it because they're the idiots who are printing it to death, making it worthless. So nobody can say, oh, wait, they keep money printing. But that's what they're doing, the money printing for the Social Security, for the debt, for the military, for all the government workers is more than we got. And so we're trying to get the money from these tariffs, keep the government alive because the government can have 1,000 employees, has 20,000 employees. How do you pay them all? We'll print money. The money's not worth anything now. You can't keep printing it. So I love when people say, you can just keep printing it because we're the reserve currency. What the fuck does that have to do with anything? You can't just keep printing the money. You can print it, but it won't have value. It doesn't have value now. These people are just so stupid. one quick thing with Russia's nonstop attacks on the Ukraine. We can see what's happening. We don't have to watch it, but I don't know if Russia thinks if we keep bombing the Ukraine, they'll surrender, because it doesn't sound like they're going to surrender. I don't know how they end the war, because nobody wants to negotiate the end of war. So, all right, let's watch Douglas.
Oh my God, this is a must-hear story for any.
Yeah, we don't care.
What's your view?
Well, the globalist thing of a nothing burger, based on everything that Lindsey Graham had insisted was going to happen. I guess something must have happened between the time that Lindsey Graham was on the golf course with Trump and Trump's decision to do something. The more I see of President Trump, the more I realize that he has made the transformation from businessman and marketing genius to a purely political animal. I mean, sort of standing there and saying, you know, I'm on the side of humanity is utterly ridiculous. Unless you're smoking crack and you're sitting in a corner in a dark room, you know that President Trump could have ended the war in Ukraine very, very quickly. All he had to do was say, look, this is not in the interest of the American people. We have no interest in what happens in eastern Ukraine. We want to promote peace, however. So I am now ending or suspending all further aid to Ukraine, withdrawing all U.S. military intelligence and other personnel from Ukraine. In which case, it would have been made perfectly clear to everybody that we were through with this and we were not going to continue it any longer. That would have then created an atmosphere conducive to some sort of arrangement arrived at by the Russians and the Ukrainians. But he did the opposite. He doubled down on what Biden was doing, frankly. And he refused to admit that this is a terrible mistake in which we should have never engaged. So now I think he fully owns it, Dan. It's his war. And here's the bottom line for Donald Trump. He's losing. He doesn't want to lose. He says he dislikes losing. Well, I would say he's lost this one. And the best that he can do is sort of walk out of the room and hope that nobody notices he was ever there and change the subject, because that's where we're headed.
You know, you said he's doubling down on the Biden policies. I would argue that he's fractioning down on the Biden policies, because before Biden left in May of 2024, they passed a $61 billion package for Ukraine, which didn't even slow down the Russian advance at that time. Actually, the amount of territory Ukraine lost and the troops they lost accelerated after that was actually passed. It was probably due to many reasons. But now Trump, according to Axios yesterday, has loosened the bonds a little bit, has a half of $1 billion for the 2026 fiscal year budget and about $10 billion of other help. So that's like 1/6 of what Biden did. And if that produced nothing, what can anybody expect from what's going to happen on the terms of the weapons right now?
Well, militarily, as you and I have discussed for a very long time, this war ended some time ago. There is no chance for any sort of Ukrainian victory. In fact, it'll be a miracle if the Ukrainian state survives. But I think we have to keep something else in mind. When I said double down, the Financial Times reported within the last 24 hours that President Trump spoke on the phone to Zelensky and apparently asked Zelensky if he had the capability to hit Moscow and St. Petersburg and some other locations. And Zelensky apparently said, no, not really. And he said, well, you've got to do that. We've got to get you stuff and help you do that. This is Trump talking out of both sides of his mouth. If he says he's not really on any side, but on humanity's side, what the hell is he telling Zelensky that he needs to attack deep into Russia and disrupt Russia or destroy Russia's capabilities? The whole thing stinks to high heaven. And I think, let's be frank, I think the Russians have walked away from Donald Trump. They don't see any evidence for any honesty or integrity in the conduct of our foreign policy. That's also being true in connection with Iran. We pretended that we were negotiating And then we assisted the Israelis in launching a surprise attack. And then, of course, we weighed in ourselves. So I don't think anybody believes this any longer. And I think it's Trump's fault. He's just not being honest at all about anything.
Well, and what he says in that clip we just played there, that I've gotten a lot of wars solved over the last 6 months. I just hadn't got this one yet. I'm not sure what he's talking about. What wars do you think he may have in mind that he's ended?
Well, he likes to take credit for halting the war between Pakistan and India. And I don't see any evidence that he had anything to do with it. But that's part of his game. I don't know what else he claims to have halted or stopped. I think he's arguing that the war with Iran is over.
I think that is one of them.
Good luck with that. As far as the Iranians are concerned and everybody else, we're co-belligerent with the Israelis. There is no peace settlement. There is no agreement. There doesn't appear to be any willingness to negotiate an agreement. And even though I think behind the scenes we've said to the Iranians that we would go back and revisit the nuclear issue, they effectively said no thanks. For the same reason the Russians, I think, are just pressing on to do what they're going to do because nobody believes us anymore. And I'm glad you brought up this sort of demonstration of an unbridled arrogance on the part of Donald Trump. Well, I've solved all these wars and I deserve the Nobel Peace Prize. Kind of nonsense. Let's stop for a minute and consider this. This is 80 years ago in 1945 at the Victory Parade in Berlin. Harry Truman flew over for it, and of course Eisenhower stood next to him, and they watched, the masses of American troops and materiel and tanks and artillery and everything else march by. After it was over, Truman took Eisenhower aside, was very happy, very proud, as you would expect Truman to be. Remember, Truman was a fairly simple man. This is not some sort of a product of the Ivy League or anything. He was a child of the School of Hard Knocks. And he looked at Eisenhower and he said, General Eisenhower, this is magnificent. And we all owe you a lot for what you've done. He said, I want to award you the Medal of Honor. And Eisenhower, reeled back in shock. And he said, Mr. President, you can't do that. And President Truman said, well, of course I can. I'm President of the United States. He said, sir, you don't understand. I have never been in combat. I have never, ever concealed that truth. Everyone knows that I have never been in combat. And, it would be a disservice to all of those men who died in action and won this decoration to give it to me. Please, Mr. President, don't mention that again. That's
all right. So they're just storytelling. But you can see Russia's won the war, but they won't let it go. They want the defense see, it's all based on the CIA thinking that if people buy the weapons from the defense contractors, it'll get us out of the recession because it'll stimulate the economy. And, it's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. It doesn't do that. First of all, your money is ruined. So the inflation is gone. Once the dollar is worthless, there's nothing that can help you. They don't even understand that concept. So, yeah, if sales are up, it's going to benefit the economy, but not defense contractors. They're just a little segment of the economy. And, okay, their sales will go up for a little bit, and they'll bring in some money, but it goes to the government. It goes to the company, not the government. General Dynamics gets the money. All right, they pay a little bit of tax, and that's it. That's not going to help you out. And the people at General Dynamics will get will stay employed, and maybe they'll add people, and they'll go shopping, but it's not going to help because it's being forced, and the other countries have to have the money to buy these weapons, which they don't. And then they're going to give it to the Ukraine again, and with no strings attached. Yeah, we just paid $100 billion for weapons. We're just going to give it to you. And they'll be thrown in jail in 5 minutes, the leaders. There'll be riots in all these countries because you don't have any money, but you're going to buy weapons and give them to the Ukraine. I mean, the whole thing is ludicrous. Whoever's behind this, George Soros or whoever, is out of his fucking mind because nobody, I'm going to come and I'm going to take Give me 100,000 that you don't have, and I'm going to go buy stuff and give it away to somebody else. You'd be like, what are you, crazy? Well, apparently that's what they are, is crazy. All right, I think that's it. So again, statistics are, you've got to be clear. There's a lot of variables that change, so you got to be very clear what they're telling. Like AI, what is it? What is the value added for me? And that's what you have to understand. And you can almost take it to girls if you're a guy. And what value are you adding to me? Right? Besides the obvious, are you adding value to my life? And really, that's what you want, is to add value. You both add value to each other. And what are you adding value with this war? You're not adding any value. The economy, you're not adding any value. You're killing it with the tariffs. The tariffs don't add value. The inflation doesn't add value. So there's no value being added anywhere. And that's the problem. So be careful with statistics. Be careful what they mean and what are they really hiding. Like I said, in baseball, OPS is hiding the fact there's 7 guys hitting 300. That's an embarrassment. Your sport sucks. That's why they're so worried about getting the game over quickly. If it's a good game, why do we want to end it quickly? Doesn't make any sense. If you had Mickey Mantle and Willie Mays playing each other, you'd want to see that game. And you wouldn't want it to end quickly. You'd want to see him bat more. Or if Sandy Koufax is pitching, you don't want to end the game early. Anyway, that's the problem. Baseball just doesn't have very good talent, except for Aaron Judge. That's about it. And I mean, the Tigers had 7 All-Stars, and none of them are All-Stars. Maybe Skubal. But even he gave up 3 runs. So it shows you in big games, they're really not that good. Just like the Lions. They showed you in the big games, they choked against, well, they got just killed against Washington. The Niners, they outcoached themselves, not kicking the field goal. So again, they're not adding value. So you got to be careful with that. Anyway, I think that's about it. There's no baseball till Friday, so we can't do that. We did touch on football, college football. I'll probably do the MAC and the Sun Belt tonight. Yeah, maybe tonight. It's 2:00, so I'm going to have lunch, and then I'm going to the pool and swim. And that's about it. I don't know about Vegas yet. I don't know. I was doing some research on it. Problem is the resort fees kill you. I was looking at the Tuscany. It's like $40 a day. So 3 days should be 120. Is like 300 because of the resort fees. And I just don't want to go there with these stupid resort fees. It's just I don't want to pay for something I'm not using. Price your property. If it's $90 a day, it's too high. That's the other thing. They're trying to con you into believing it's $35 a night. And the resort fee is $35 a night. Well, then it's really a $70 room, and it's not worth it, right? That's the part that they're trying to do, is try to fool you, where you think it's $80 to stay at Caesars, but it's really $160 a night because of the resort fee. And the taxes are 13%. So there's a lot of hidden fees there. So I just don't know. The same thing with the airlines. You can bring on a purse or a laptop case or a briefcase, but you can't take a gym bag. It's going to be, I think it's $55 I saw yesterday online to upgrade into a carry-on or something. That's ridiculous. Give me the price. So it's like an extra $60, $70 for the price to get the thing. So the cheap price you got to ignore. You got to go to the premium price or whatever, which isn't too bad. It wasn't that much of a killer, but I don't know. I'm my mind isn't really to go to Vegas now. And so Daria's daughter, I think, came home. She was supposed to come home yesterday. I haven't heard from Daria. I don't know what's going on there. I'm not hearing from her as much. I believe she said that they're blocking the mobile internet. So I'm assuming that that's why I'm not hearing from her. Is Russia, the war is blocking the mobile internet, and that's why she's not contacting me. So we'll see. Because you got to figure, she doesn't like me anymore? I mean, that doesn't make sense. So anyway, that's what's going on. Anyway, let's take our last look at gold and silver as we do. So we saw gold make a nice run. All right, so we got silver right around 38, and gold is at 33.54. So gold's been sitting between 33.30 and 33.50 for a week now. And silver finally hit 39 and has been in the 38 range. So 37.39 to 30, so 38.50 in that range. As we've said with comex, there's certain days of the week it goes down and certain days of the week it goes up. So we are expecting tomorrow as a go up day on a Thursday. And we'll see. Again, they got to cover it with Basel III. Forces them to have physical, and people will ask for it. And again, the reason people are buying on comex because it's far cheaper than reality. You can't get silver at 37.93, and you can't get gold at 33.54. You can't buy it for those numbers. You're going to pay, $3,600 an ounce for us. But if you're buying the bars, I'm sure it's a lot of money. But I don't think there's much gold and silver left. I think it's all gone. China, most of it rushed. China's got 70,000 tons of gold now. And it's just, they have 2,900 tons. I mean, yeah. And what world is that? Because they got 70,000 tons. They're not including the private banks, the shadow banks, and the population, just like Russia has. Private banks, shadow banks, Putin's swimming pool, and the population, who are all buying gold. So there's a lot more than 2,900 tons of gold in Russia and China. What a joke that is. Anyway, so keep that in mind. All right, I think that's about it. Awas, have a nice night, David. Good to hear from you. www.teaserking.com. I might be on tonight with the end of the college football and then maybe do Big Ten over the weekend. And we'll see, but we're not that far. It's July 16th already. It was just July 4th. Just amazing. It's just July 1st. Now it's July 16th. It just keeps moving. Anyway, have a good day, everybody. www.teaserking.com. And feel free to get my email there if you want to email me. Otherwise, I will talk to you probably later, but for sure tomorrow around this bat time, about 11 o'clock-ish. All right. Have a good day. Enjoy. Relax. Buy your gold and silver. You have no risk in the portfolio. That's a good thing because everything else is incredibly risky. All right. Take care. And listen to your statistics. Do they make sense? Find out what they are. Does it make sense? What's the point of them? Like OPS instead of batting average. Batting average is the best statistic. This shows what the guy can hit. If the guy can't hit, I don't want him. So I don't care what his OPS. Well, he walks and it hits our home runs, all 5 of them. So he has a high OPS, but he can't hit. All right. That's it. Take care. Have a nice day.